always work it in. So it's just part of it. Happened all last year. It happens this year, whether it's meetings or video or going on ice and working on it. So, you know, again, just coming off of that, the game and having something today, just trying to make it competitive. But 3-on-3, 4-on-4, there's some D-zone coverage, even breakaways to a point, you know. So just working on stuff that gets brought up through the course of the time.
How much do the penalty shot, shootout drills inform you if you have to make a decision?
There's a lot of history already with the players. You know, there's some that's not history. Like I think there might be a couple players that could be good at it, but we've got a lot of guys that shoot high in percentage. If that's the question you're asking,
Yeah,
we have a lot of guys that shoot high in percentage, and so it'd be tough to come in and jump that order for me, unless somebody just went stone cold, you know. And so I think we're pretty fortunate. We've got some good guys in place, but there are other guys I think that could be capable as well.
John kind of talked about the history just there. When it comes to the line changes that you made, particularly with the defense, how beneficial is it that the nucleus of this team has been together for as long as it has, that you probably have a lot of analytics and things that you can look back on with those deep pairs that makes you feel comfortable falling back on them, and kind of just how much has that weighed into?
That was actually the easiest of the moves, if I'm being honest, because there was so much history from the past.
Right.
And so that was just to change it up, because I don't like the way we had gone, and I mean I was clear about it in 3 of the last 4. I just don't think we were on top of our game, and so we made a change and we went back to something that's a little bit familiar with the back end. The bigger change obviously was up front in the forwards, where there'd been so much stability. So moving the back end, they probably didn't blink an eye either. So I don't think it was that big of a deal.
You talked a little bit about Jimmy coming back into the lineup last night. What does he do for that line? I know you've been pleased with that line all year long, no matter who was playing right wing on it. So how does that line look with Jimmy in it versus the other guys?
I think again, the players are different that you're talking about that have popped in and out of that line. Jimmy's a veteran player who's, you know, through the course of his lifetime has put up a lot of points, and I think through the course of his stay in the NHL has learned how to do a lot of different things other than put up points. But that doesn't mean that he still can't contribute offensively. I believe that he can. Smart player, veteran player. You know, he's a guy that probably could play on any line if asked upon. But I think he's done a good job of coming in and fitting that position, jumping on the penalty kill, which he didn't last night, but it was his first game back. Or maybe he did for a shift, jumping on the penalty kill on the defensive side of things, some D-zone face-offs, but he still has that ability to create and score. He's always been a talented player.
With him as part of the mix now, I mean, does that give you more options to do, say, maybe use those guys as a straight matchup, checking line kind of thing, or because of Jimmy's experience?
Yeah, I think I think they played really well, that line, and like I said, they take it out of our end, they put it down into the offensive zone, and they stay there. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's potential there for that.
Sticking with that line, but I want to point in on a specific guy, Adam Edstrom. You've had other guys that have gotten a few games and come out at times. You've talked about tough lineup decisions, but he's been consistently in there every game so far. So what is it about him and what you've seen that's kind of earned that level of trust for him so far?
I think it's just more of a complete game. I think he's played well defensively. His size, his ability to skate. I do think he's physical. He's played good defense for us. You know, I do think that there's a potential to, you know, he's in on the penalty kill meetings, and we did use him in exhibition games to kill penalties, and I know he's killed penalties. So I think there's potential for that for him. He's a young player that's making steps every day to becoming that type of a player. Can he move up from there? Sure. I think there's potential to move up, but right now it's been slotted there, and I think he's done a good job. He's created offense as well. It doesn't necessarily show in his statistics, but he does get a step on defenseman to the outside. He does take it to the net and drive the net. You know, he did put up points in the rookie game, part of it, and he did put up points in preseason, and so, you know, there's definitely potential. We do see that with him as well. But for me, he's done a good job of just being a player that can play in all three zones.
Is there a reliability there as far
Yeah.
as decision making, structural integrity, things like that?
Yeah, I think there is. You know, again, like I mentioned with Will last year, we don't talk about Adam too much in his game, and haven't had too many meetings with him. We're always teaching him and showing him things, but for the most part, he's done a pretty good job defensively.
How do you describe Jacob Trouba as a leader and what he brings in that aspect?
I think he's done a fantastic job. I mean, our team's been the top team in the league, and I do think that you need good character and good quality leadership inside of a room, and it definitely starts with him. I think he's done an excellent job.
How do you assess the team's neutral zone play to start the season in general?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I thought it was pretty good. Again, last night I thought it was good as well. There was a couple breakdowns last night that were tough. We got caught standing in a blue line one time, and they got numbers behind us. We got caught with a guy coming out of the penalty box. That was probably Shesty's biggest and best save of the night. And they got caught behind us, and those things can't happen. So those aren't necessarily neutral zone. Those are more breakdowns from the penalty box and from the offensive zone. A lot of our trouble is either coming from the puck decisions that we're making as we enter, or they're coming from the offensive zone play and not having the numbers back. Not necessarily a lock or a neutral zone defense. And still trying to get better at it. I don't think last night was perfect, but
Yeah. I was going to ask in particular also about the neutral zone lock. How you've seen it be executed.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't think we've had a lot of chances that have come off of the lock. You know, I think there's always a couple different things that we're trying to do in the neutral zone, but when it goes into those sets, I don't really see that as an issue. Like I said, a lot of it's been we put ourselves in bad situations, and that's not necessarily neutral zone defense. That's attack. That's attack either with the puck and not executing, or attack and not having the numbers to respond coming back. And that's where I think we have to be a little bit more detailed with our game, a little bit better with our decisions that we're making.
You don't seem to be staying away from Phil taking defensive
No.
zone draws.
No.
What's going into that strategy?
Well, their line had been really good. I think they had been really good at controlling the play, and since then we've made a move, and so we're looking at that. But Cride's a pretty responsible player as well. You know, they're big guys that know how to defend. So far this year, they've done a pretty good job of getting it out of our end and getting it into the offensive zone and playing down there. You know, I think it's the beginning of the year when you're looking for growth in players or growth in a line. You've got to give them some responsibility to see whether or not they can handle those responsibilities, and then you make decisions. And so I haven't really stayed away from anybody for the most part. Yeah, you know, there's a couple players that I'd like to see in the offensive zone more, and so we go a little bit heavier with that, but I'm also trying to have people show what they can do from a defensive standpoint.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.